$10.2 million raised at the 30th anniversary gala of the David Foster Foundation in support of Canadian families with children in need of a life-saving organ transplant.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 30th anniversary of the David Foster Miracle Gala that supports the work of the David Foster Foundation. I know we are in for a treat tonight, and that this will be a night to remember for a very long time.
$10.2 million.
And this is how it all began.
It's a wonderful story, and it started in the early 80s when David's mother, Eleanor, who's from Victoria, where David's from, and Dave was living in Los Angeles at the time. And there was a little girl from Victoria that was at UCLA Medical Center waiting for a transplant at the time. And in those days, transplants were done in Canada. So Canadian families had to go to the United States in order to get their transplants. And so she phoned David and said, look, would you just go and see this little girl from our hometown who was a friend of a friend, and said, just go and see this little girl and see the family and just say hi. Not as a celebrity, but as somebody that just came from the hometown. And David, of course, you do what your mother tells you to do. So of course he said yes, and he went to the hospital and started talking to the family, and he could see that there was real stresses and pressures that the family were under. And as he started to converse with them and talk with the little girl, just as he was about to leave, he said, is there anything that I can do for you, to the little girl? And he thought she would say, I want to go to Disneyland, I want to I want to see this celebrity. But no, the little girl just looked him straight in the eyes and she said, I just want to see my sister. David stopped and he kind of pondered that for a second and then started asking more questions. And as he started to find out more, they couldn't afford the plane ticket for her sister to come down.
Oh my.
And in those days, it was maybe $100. And so David said, I'm going to make that happen. And they left the hospital. David left the hospital, made some phone calls, and the aunt and the little girl sister came down, and he picked them up and he brought them to the hospital. And he said that when those two girls, little girls' eyes met in that hospital, he said it etched in his heart forever. And he said, this is going to be my foundation. So that's how it started.
I want to just recognize that the David Foster Foundation has also been very generous to the Kidney Foundation, and your foundation has supported a few of our key programs, including Kidney Kids Camp. And thanks to organizations like yours, we've been able to send hundreds of kids to a fantastic summer camp at no cost to their families.
So many times we talk about it is allow the children to be children. Allow the kids to be kids.
Absolutely.
Don't put them in a bubble.
Yeah.
Just because they had the transplant doesn't mean that they need to be treated any differently. And camp is the greatest place where you can actually be that and forget about everything that you've gone through or try to, and just go and have fun. And that's really why we did it.
Just go and be a regular kid.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they haven't had that opportunity.
That's exactly it.
During their life when they were fighting for their life, because it was all about hospitals and needles and operations and literally fighting. Now, go. And you have the medical care there in case you need it.
Absolutely. We feel very honored that we can offer a program to families like that.
Well, and you have 6 camps across this country, which a lot of people don't realize.
Right.
And that was the other thing that we looked at and said, wow, it's not like you're just in one province. You're across this country,
Absolutely.
nationally providing these children the
Absolutely.
opportunities, which we actually, that's one of the reasons why we support it. We think it's wonderful, and it does give these children that place to go.
You've also supported our Kidney Suites. Again, another key program for kidney patients who have had a transplant. They're down in Vancouver, they're recovering from their transplant, and through the Kidney Suites, they are provided accommodation at little or no cost. So again, another hugely important program for kidney patients, and many, many thanks to the David Foster Foundation for all your support to both those initiatives.
You know, you never know what one thing could do and how the ripple effect can take
Change
place.
everything else.
Right.
You know, obviously the David Foster Foundation has had a phenomenal impact on children and their families, children who need life-saving
Right.
transplants, and that the foundation has helped over 1,000 families. And I think actually in your role as CEO, you have grown the foundation from a provincial foundation to a national foundation.
You know, it's been wonderful to be able to support families from Newfoundland to Quebec to,
Right.
you know, British Columbia. To have a foundation that starts out small but is able to expand and spread their wings, it's not only gratifying, but it's rewarding for all of the staff, but also and all of our volunteers, because they get to see that we're making a difference. And so many times in our lives that we wonder a lot, are we really making a difference? Are we making an impact? We hope.
And you can see that one family at a time, you know that you are making a difference.
Together, we're making a difference, right? So it's not one person. It may be one person that started it, but as David would say, it takes, you know, a village
It takes a
to
village.
raise a family.
Absolutely.